I saw the show in Grand Rapids a number of years ago, and I was captivated by it. And it was one of those scripts that I found myself talking about for days afterwards with the person I went to the show with, to people that hadn't been to see the show yet. When the show starts, you think you know who the good guys and the bad guys are, but you don't. And by the end of the play, your preconceived notions are completely torn apart. Benny is sad. Benny is angry. Benny has been living with anger and bitterness for so long, I don't think he knows how to live without it. It's a wife. It's a companion. It's his best friend. Benny's funny. Benny succeeds. Benny's driven. But I think overall Benny is bitter. Yeah. He's difficult. He's very difficult. It's one of the challenges of directing an actor to play Benny is to walking that line. If all he does, as Norma, his daughter in the play says, is spit battery acid, he's not likable. And the audience doesn't care what happens to him. It doesn't care what happens through the play. But he is still very angry, and he still carries that pain and the scars.
I mean, I think he's a man of high moral character, really. I think that he believed in his work, he believed in why he was doing it, and he suffered the consequences. He wasn't going to buckle under or, name the names that, he was requested to. I think he took the high road and, paid the price for it in some way. But in the play, at least has the moral fortitude to be able to stand his ground. So this is what I did, this was the choice I made, I can live with it now. It may have taken 30 years, but as far as him being bitter, as he's accused of by Norma, spitting battery acid at the world, I think that just comes with life. That's tempered. That's something you learn to deal with, you learn to control, and you learn to go on. As far as Leo goes, I think it's something that's going to eat him up for the rest of his life. He'll never come to terms with that, obviously, from what he's doing in the play. So I think the difference is, I think it's a very Hollywood story. They used to say in Los Angeles, it's not as important that you succeed, but your friends must fail. So that, that's the goal. It's not about relationships. It's not about the quality of life. It's about success. And I think that he makes the right choices, and and he does believe in his work. He does believe in what they had to say and what they were trying to do.
So it's like with the painting. Because I don't have the proper background, I can't appreciate it. Because I didn't suffer through the blacklist, I can't have an opinion.
But any opinion you want, just don't expect me to get all worked up about it.
Of course not. I mean, who the hell am I? If I happen to think that walking through life spitting battery acid is no kind of life.
I don't have to listen
Pop,
to
he did a
this.
shitty thing to you, no argument. But to let it keep eating at you after all these years and let it take over your life.
A shitty thing. Your command of the language. A shitty thing. Like he stole a girl from you, or got drunk and peed in my swimming pool. You think something happens and that's it, it's over, it's gone and remote because you can stick a date on it, and a lot of calendars have been tossed out in the meantime. Oh, all those books you've read, all that time you spent in the library, you still don't understand a thing. I was an actor. Basic to being an actor is the fact that you can't do it by yourself. It's not like plumbing or fixing shoes or painting a picture. You've got to do it with other people, in the presence of other people. Now, if somebody does something to cut you off from that, you're not an actor anymore, and I don't care what you call yourself, what you put on your resume, you're not. You can't grow. You can't develop. You're not allowed to be what you could. You aren't even allowed to be who you are.
Norma's, I think, the least well-drawn character in the play. I think Norma is the mechanism by which the author brought Benny and Leo together. Norma spends a lot of time grousing, and it would be very easier for that character just to complain and complain and complain. And we had to find the places where Norma could laugh at Benny and not be just frustrated with him, and to hold the actress back until the end. to let her get truly angry with him and truly exasperated and truly finished. You know, it isn't until the very end that she says, "Never mind," and she gets up to leave, where she's done. And at that point, she allows herself, the actress, the character, is allowed to be angry with Benny. But she can't be that way through the whole show, because again, the audience won't care at the end.
Norma is the daughter of Benny Silverman, who was a famous actor that was blacklisted, and she has decided that she's going to be an actress herself, and she wants to do it on her own. So she decides that she's going to drop her last name and take her mother's name so that she can get jobs on her own. And her dad's not exactly thrilled with this, obviously, because he finds a lot of value in names. That's such, the value of names is the title of the show. So she kind of confronts him about it, tells him that she's going to do it, and she's kind of looking for his approval, like any daughter wants their dad's approval. So she lets him know that she's going to do it, and I think throughout the whole show it's a lot of father-daughter relationship, and she didn't really know her dad because their parents got divorced, and she lived on the other coast, so I think a lot of her relationship with her dad is, trying to get approval, trying to do things, but yet she wants to be her own person. So, yeah, she's trying to go into her own field and come into her own, but she also wants her dad's love and his approval.
I just hope you got what you wanted.
And what might that be?
I don't know. Satisfaction?
No way to get satisfaction.
Then why do it?
Sometimes you do a thing because you've got the right to do it. Or don't you think I have the right?
Of course you have the right, and I have the right to do some things too.
Like what? Judge me? My behavior? Well, I beg to differ, kiddo. You haven't earned it.
Oh, I see. So it's like with the painting. Because I don't have the proper background, I can't appreciate it. Because I didn't suffer through the blacklist, I can't have an opinion.
Any opinion you want, just don't expect me to get all worked up about it.
Of course not. I mean, who the hell am I?
Leo's a survivor. Leo does what Leo has to do for Leo. And he's very successful. I've never worked in Hollywood. I've never worked in professional theater. I have known people that have, and the ones that are successful that I have known have a little of that in them, that at some point they've got to do what they've got to do to stand out, to get ahead, to get that next job. I can't imagine living that way, but I was never that driven. So I guess Leo is driven, and he'll do what he has to do. I don't find that quality, I find it quite reprehensible, frankly, but it's who Leo is. And again, there's the tightrope. You can't make Leo hateful. The audience has to like him to care. So he's charming. He's definitely charming. And I think he did care about Benny, and I think he did feel badly about what he did, but not so bad that he didn't do it. He went ahead and did it anyway. I think Leo lives by the adage, it's easier to get forgiveness than permission. And in this case, we know how that turns out.
He's a guilty man. But the problem is, for years and years and years, since it happened, he's expected to apologize. He did what he felt he had to do at the time. And I think there's one line that speaks to it. You can't fight if you're dead. So he saw it as, if I don't do this and I go down the chute with everybody else, who's going to stand up? And at least this way I have a chance to continue. And maybe through that we can get the other people back involved, make the committee see the error of their ways and take it from there. And he's been just, it's this cross-purpose thing of, no, you did wrong. No, I was told I did right. Now I'm being told I did wrong. And I really want Benny's friendship again. And I'm hoping that, like I did with Morty, that we can patch it up. But he's not willing. Neither one of us is willing to step over the line to the other one. So it's just a matter of, it's just not going to happen. And that's why he hadn't wanted to call on him. He was trying to protect me. It seems that boy had circulated a petition requesting that the college rescind the honorary degree, that it would not redound to the school's credit to honor a stoolie. This was not quite how my friend put it, but that was the gist of it. There was a ceremony, I got my degree, shook a lot of nice hands, and I went home. And all through this, I'm thinking of how I should have answered that little bastard.
Meg and I talked about Norma and why is she there? She doesn't have a close relationship with her father. Why is she at the house? Is she trying to develop a closer relationship with her father? Is it just convenient? She's doing this play in Los Angeles. She lives in New York. Norma is just another victim to Benny's anger by the end of the play, and has been a victim of Benny's anger and betrayal all of her life. She clearly grew up with her mother on the other side of the country. They, according to the script, divorced when she was about 5, so she has spent years without him being a big part of her life. And why they divorced is not in the text, but I have to think it's because of what happened, that again, going through life spitting battery acid. So, Norma is just another victim. It's just another example of how Benny's, the betrayal and the subsequent grudge and the pain and the anger that he carries just poisons everything in his life. Yeah, he has a nice house. His career came back, but he doesn't have any apparently loving relationships in his life. He says this is the first time they'd laid eyes on each other in 2 years. That's no relationship. That's not a casual friendship. I have casual friends that I talk to more than that. And it's her father. So she's another victim.
Extremely challenging, really, to go through just the 90 minutes in the play, let alone what he had to live through. But to go through the realizations. I felt that he was willing to put things aside for his daughter. He was willing to let her, for what she wanted. He would deal with that somehow. The play, it exhausts me. I'm getting a little better on the third weekend now, but I was exhausted just from going through the emotional trip he goes through, of actually experiencing the feelings of betrayal from her on some level, and the feeling of coming to terms with Leo after 30 years and the impact that took, just to confront him, something you've avoided for that long, and to actually admit to it, say what you felt, that was a very draining part of the process. To actually listen to them, what's going on, and really try to understand them, and yet stand his ground. And I think that at the end, it's between he and Norma, it's an adult decision. He's respecting her as an adult, but saying, okay, you've grown now, you have to come to terms with how I feel. So I was worn out. It took, I'm physically tired after doing the show. It's an exciting ride, but it does take all my concentration, my energy, it feels like.
I don't know if it's insensitive. I kind of approached it from a generational standpoint, and I think that's something that is definitely, you can tell from today's point of view, just in the next generation. And I think it's just sort of this, I want to call it maybe just this sense of instant gratification. People just are like go, 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 and they don't have time to actually grasp something and like dwell in it, and they just say, oh well, boom, this is a moment, boom, this is a moment, boom, this is a moment, let's go. And so her concept, it's not as bad in her period of time, but in the next generation it's much worse. But she sees it as, okay, Dad, well, that happened, but you got to live, you got to move on. Like, you create, yes, someone did this to you, but now you're doing it to yourself. And everything you're saying to me is basically going to destroy my life. So why would you do that to me? I don't know if it's coming from an insensitive place, but maybe more from a generational point, and maybe from a loving place too, because she doesn't want him to do what Leo did to him to himself, because that's what he did. I mean, he took his career and took everything that Leo did to him, and instead of turning it around and maybe speaking out or continuing to act and doing things he loved, he chose to isolate himself further by never keeping his friends, or he just chooses to paint alone. And I think his entire marriage unraveled because of what Leo did to him. I think he just went into exile to himself. And I mean, even Leo brings it up, like, I never saw a marriage like the one you had with your wife. What happened? And they don't go into it, but I sort of got the impression that it was because of what happened. He just went into exile and he just cut everybody out, including his wife, probably his kid. So she probably is coming from a place, I don't think of insensitivity, but they probably have tried everything. Like, okay, Dad, well, we've done everything we can to get you to move on, but it's tough love time, I guess. Like, come on, you gotta stop doing that.
I would just hope that they realize that political climate should not dictate rationality. I mean, McCarthy rationalized it all because it was perfect for him. We were in the midst of this Cold War thing. Everybody was hyped up about the communists. And it doesn't necessarily need to apply to that. It can be any sort of hysteria that's involved with us culturally. Really, really, really take a serious look at what you do and say before you begin on any kind of crusade.
I think Benny is very controlled. Benny stands and listens to part of the conversation that Leo has with Norma. Benny makes a choice to walk in. Benny is not surprised. Benny walks into this prepared. I think Benny is going to do everything in his power to keep Leo from seeing the hurt, because he doesn't want to be hurt a second time. If Leo knows how hurt Benny was, Leo can hurt him again. There are a number of instances where Leo says, for instance, is the inside of the house as nice as the outside? And Benny says, you'll have to take my word for it. Shuts him down. Shuts him down on a number of occasions. Diminishes him.
Well, he doesn't hand me bulletins or anything, but I like to keep track of the old gang.
You heard about George?
Saw it in the Times. Christ. Every morning opening the goddamn Times to find out who I've survived.
I know.
You went to the memorial?
Oh, they didn't have, usual type of thing, this memorial service. It was kind of fun. Everybody got up and told stories.
Oh?
The clean ones.
Must have been a short memorial.
Well, they read some from his file. He got the file the FBI kept on him under the Freedom of Information thing.
Sounds like a lot of laughs.
Which I hear about when he was in the Army.
Well, I know that he was in the Army.
About when he was in the hospital in the Army.
Wait a second. You mean the FBI
The
agent?
FBI comes to interview the other guys in the ward about
I've heard it, yeah.
Doesn't recognize him. He gives his own testimony.
Yeah, I heard it.
They ask him his name. He says,
Jake Barnes!
Oh, you heard it.
I heard it.
I felt in the writing he gave the clues to where the dialect was. I think there's a certain rhythm that definitely you're allowed to play his heritage there. His writing is very intricate. There's so many passages that he goes back and forth with, that he says a couple of things several different ways. And it's tricky, but I can appreciate the rhythm of it. And the fact that Benny, being a performer, is going to get every good line in he can. There are still passages that, as I go back through the script and I try to work on, I can see things that I'm still paraphrasing, possibly. But that is the complication of the writing, too. we were really, I mean, this is off subject, but we were really forced to get off book quickly. And there was a date set. And I felt that we were grasping for ideas, and then it wasn't as easy to go back and fine-tune the dialogue. So there were still points where we were trying to get through, where if we had had a few more days, I think we could be better with the text. Pretty close. I mean, with respect to the author, we're doing the best we can, but it is tricky writing because there's several passages where the women say this and then the men say and the women say again, and they look at their husbands and their husbands go. And it is very tricky. But, we did the ideas and then attempted to go back and really clarify and hopefully, we were trying to be word perfect. I still see when I go over the script every night, so I look at it just to put it back in my head and speed through, and I can see the points from, okay, not saying that exactly right. So, but it is tricky. I think the writing is very true to his voice, very true to the character's voice.
I would say the biggest challenge for me was figuring out how to approach her relationship with Leo. It wasn't so much finding the relationship with Benny, because I think that came pretty naturally, but with Leo, it was how do you kind of grasp all of those emotions when he enters into her life, because this is somebody that you have to sort of realize would be like a Steven Spielberg or a James Cameron showing up in your backyard that you've probably been aware of your whole life, and you've just realized, oh wow, this person is the person who destroyed my father's life, and now he's in my backyard. I just found out he's going to direct my show. He can make my career, but how am I approaching this? Am I going to approach it from am I nervous right now? I'm obviously going to be nervous, but I don't want to be angry at him because I could lose my job, because I want to keep my job. But also, my dad's in the house. Oh my God, is he going to come out right now and freak out? And I think there's just a lot of emotions running through her mind, and it's sort of like this schizophrenic emotion that probably comes out as weird and uncomfortable and then defensive, and then she probably just falls back into being exactly like her father because that's who she is. But that was the toughest thing for me, was trying to figure out how to balance all of those emotions, and I don't necessarily know if it ever worked because it was something that we definitely struggled with for a long time, but that was the biggest challenge, was figuring out how to approach that scene.
Reasonable chance of running into him.
Oh, I'm not afraid of that.
I didn't say you were.
I'd like you to stay with the show.
Have you seen any of my work?
The producers seem to think you're good.
But you haven't seen me do anything.
No,
If I were to leave, it wouldn't be difficult to find somebody else.
that's true.
There are lots of good actresses.
A dozen or so, at least.
It might be easier for you.
Well, I appreciate your concern, but I think I could bear up. And long ago accepted the fact that Mother Teresa would beat me in a popularity contest.
I don't see why it would be worth it to you.
Why is your understanding so important?
Well, because if I were to stay, I would like to know on what basis.
That you do your job. What other basis is there? You honor a contract that was negotiated in good faith. Or don't you think you can play the part?
I can play it.
I loved it. Some of those lines, almost poetic. Probably being an actor, I liked that bit about what it meant to be an actor and not being able to do it alone, and that this deprived him of not just his livelihood, but of himself as well. I really liked that part. But there are a lot of lines in it that I thought it was very clever dialogue in the way that he could get an audience to laugh, and then the next second they're, whoa. And throughout the entire thing, it was that way. No matter who the dialogue was with, whether it was Benny and Norma or it was Benny and Leo, it was filled with things that, and for me, the interest was, are they going to react this way? Or are we so deep into the more serious side of it, that they're not going to let themselves. And I talked to several people in the audience who said, I wanted to laugh on a number of other occasions, but I didn't think it would be appropriate. Laugh. Come on.
For a younger generation to look at it as history as to how far overreaching government can be and how important is the First Amendment. And what, if you're going to exercise that right, what is the real, what should be the goal? Can you say anything, or are there things that you deserve the right to say? Are there things that need to be said? I think that's what they needed to do. People did fight for this right. People were ruined for it, but is the art better? Have we achieved the point where we can now comment or critique what's going on in the world that way?
It was very well written, and that last line, I mean, stab you in the heart, like, it's not enough. I mean, you kind of, your whole life when you're writing things, you want to think of something that's just going to stay with someone, and I mean, who's going to ever forget that last line? It's not enough. Like, when I read that, it just breaks your heart, because that's Benny. Like, he's going to take that to the grave. It destroyed him, so, and it did. When that happened, it destroyed those people's lives, and it ruined everything for them, so it was very well written.
The context of the whole thing and the crux of the whole thing was the challenge for me as an actor, was to be able to find that conflict within Leo. Where does it come from that he feels justified? And where is it that he actually expects another human being to forgive him for what he had done? Was there a solid, did he really believe he'd forgive him? Or was it just sort of a hope, I'll give it a shot? Yes, he wants his daughter to be in his play, but it's got to be much more than that. And it was just interesting for me finding the dichotomy within the character and making that come across, that yes, he does feel guilty, but if you just play him as guilty, I mean, he becomes one-dimensional. So it's a complexity of the person himself that I was most interested in.
Well, I think it's great to have roles for men of his age, and also with such substance, and to look upon a period in history that's, I mean, very gray, and to look at the humanity behind it. Where did they come from when they started out? And I think that's an interesting point. You bond with people at the beginning. You know, when you have ideas, you're young, you're youthful, you have dreams. When you come to the point where you realize what you've achieved, the status quo, and you're thankful for that, how do you come together with those old relationships? I think that's interesting. Do those dreams and those, you know, wishes for the future, do they still, you know, bond? Do you still have a friendship based on that? In this case, I mean, it's interesting when he writes, he specifically says, Benny's getting too close to the old friendship, so he pulls back. And I think that's an interesting thing. You're drawn in because you want to believe that, but then again, you can't let yourself, you can't trust that.
It's beautiful. It flows. It's funny. It's charming. It rips you apart. It's one of the most beautifully written plays I've ever read. In my opinion, the dialogue is very natural. That's, I think, maybe the biggest thing is the dialogue is very natural. The actors never said, I don't know how to deal with this line. Nobody talks like this. People talk like that.
Sure, when we started out, we may have lacked polish, technical expertise. But there was a reason why we started doing it. There was a reason I started acting. There was a reason Mort Kessler started directing. There was a reason you started directing. I mean, somewhere along the line, you just gave up your reason to keep on directing.
Maybe directing was my reason.
What? Directing anything?
Of course not.
Oh, you say that now. But I don't take it for granted there are things you wouldn't direct. Before the committee, maybe. But after...
So all of a sudden I'm a whore. But it's not whoring to do some dumbass sitcom. What was the name of it? Rich and Happy?
Rich, but happy.
Oh, I stand corrected, truly edifying, uplifting stuff. My God, back then, if anybody had told you that that's what you'd end up doing, rich but happy, I mean, even just the title would have made you gag.
I had to live.
So did I, Benny. So did I.
But if I did crap, and I'm not holding up Rich but Happy as an example of high culture, but if I did crap, I didn't destroy other people to do it.